Hello and welcome to the RotoWire Esports Show. My name is Ethan Sexton, and here as always with me, DFS Chan. Chan, how are you doing today?
Good, Ethan. Good, man. How's it going?
Cannot complain. Of course, we had a two-game slate today on Tuesday. Both matchups going 2-1. I think, the first series of the day, BLG and Thunder Talk was a little surprising. It went 2-1 with Thunder Talk taking game one and then BLG having to come back with the reverse sweep to pick up the victory. A little bit lower scoring in their win, only picking up 40 kills across the three games. Not exactly what we were looking for, but I think, it was a little surprising to me that they dropped that opening game.
Yeah, we mentioned this last video, but BLG tends to be a little volatile in their team fights, and it kind of cost them in game one. Thunder Talk, I'm not too wild about their roster, but Xiao Peng, he's really good. I really think he's one of the top half junglers in terms of like quality and skills. So I really like him, and I feel like they're the team that can upset any of these elite teams at some point, and for the rest of the split. So I'll keep my eyes out on them for the rest of the split for maybe possible GPP chances. But yeah, I feel like BLG has been so volatile in terms of like consistency and team play. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I saw that BLG was the highest scoring team on the slate, even though WE, we'll talk about that other matchup. But yeah, it was just surprising that, both series ended up with low kills in general.
Yeah, jumping over to that WE versus LNG game, not really too much of a surprise that it went 2-1 necessarily. But after game one, WE dominated game one, 21 kills to 5. And then they lost game two, 21 kills to 5. So both teams scored really well in their wins in the opening two games. But that game three was a bit of a letdown with a final kill total of 10-6 with WE taking home the 2-1 win. So we were right about them winning, but we were wrong about them being the highest scoring team, Chan.
Yeah, by barely though. It's just so weird. Like I would have never imagined a WELNG game end at 10-6, but it is what happened in game three. And I think both teams got kind of cold at the end. Like in game three, I feel like they were kind of trying their best to not make mistakes. I think in game 1 and 2, they were all trying to make plays and they were, freely engaging in team fights. But game 3 was kind of people, they were just playing around objectives and only taking team fights that were necessary, really. So, but yeah, this matchup, I watched all 3 games, and this series could not have been closer, in my opinion. I feel like any given day, either team can still win. LNG and WE are both solid teams, in my opinion. They're playoff teams, and yeah, I liked, WE when we did a video yesterday, and then I kind of changed my mind throughout the day after looking at more data and picked LNG for my cash lineup, so it didn't work out. But either way, you had to have a long stack from BLG, the biggest favorite on the slate to cash. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I stuck with WE, but I used them as my long stack, so it didn't really work out in my favor despite having the 2 winning teams on the slate. But it is what it is, I guess. We move on to tomorrow, right? So for tomorrow, of course, yesterday I said we'd be back with a 4-gamer, but I forgot that the second half of the LCK season, they don't play on Wednesdays. So they're only going to be playing on Thursdays, or they're going to be starting their weeks, I should say, on Thursdays going forward, which is a little bit of a bummer because that means the first, Monday, Tuesday, and now Wednesdays are going to be 2-game LPL slates. But I guess better to have 2-game LPL slates than 2-game LCK slates or something like that, Chan. This slate, not great, not awful. I think this first series is actually a pretty interesting one, a little bit more interesting to me than the second series. So Ultra Prime taking on an OMG team that started the season pretty hot and on fire, but have since come crashing back to earth a bit. Ultra Prime 3-6 on the year. OMG are 5-4, but like I said, they've been struggling more lately. OMG are the favorites here, but do you like Ultra Prime for an upset, or do you think this is a pretty one-sided OMG affair?
Yeah, I definitely think Ultra Prime has a decent chance. This is definitely the closer matchup compared to the other Suning Rogue Warriors matchup, as the odds indicate. But yeah, I mean, I liked OMG's roster, as we talked about previously. A Key, Cream, and Abel, and Cold too. I mean, that a bottom four have been really playing really well, and they've been beating good teams. I know they've been inconsistent lately, but I like that roster more than, let's say, Hacker and Xiao Cao Bao and SMLZ. I know Xiaozi hasn't been playing well, as well as like he has done in the previous splits, but I just like OMG's chances here a lot. I know the odds are pretty close, and I know Ultra Prime has been playing much better lately. But yeah, I like the OMG still here. I think, but Ultra Prime is definitely worth a GPP consideration.
Yeah, I think I agree with you ultimately. Even though OMG are starting to crash back down a little bit, more to where we thought they would be at the beginning of the year before they really got off to that great start, I still think that they're the better team compared to Ultra Prime. Would I be surprised if it was a 2-1 instead of a sweep? Not at all. I think it could end up being a 2-1. Wouldn't really be surprised if Ultra Prime won either. I just am not personally expecting it. And, it sounds like you're not either.
Yeah, I do think people, sometimes a bad team like Ultra Prime beats a good team. I think they beat LNG on July 10th on Saturday 2-1 in that series. And I feel like people tend to overreact a little bit when they beat good teams. LNG was a good team in my opinion, early in the split. And as you saw this morning, I mean, they, were they came down to earth, and they were due for regression. And so that kind of tells me that LNG was not as good as they were perceived as when they played against Ultra Prime. So I wouldn't give too much credit, to Ultra Prime, even though LNG I still think is a, fairly solid team. So I think people overreact, and I feel like the odds are indicating the overreaction as well. So I like OMG in this spot. I think Ultra Prime, I know they just beat LNG, but I like OMG in this spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I still think they're the better team despite, some recent results for both of these teams. The second matchup of the day, Chan, is pretty heavily one-sided in my opinion. This one feels like should be a pretty clean sweep for Suning.
Yeah.
No, do you disagree? Oh, interesting.
I don't know. Like, Suning, I just cannot read what Suning is doing. I know they just play against top esports and just beat them, but I just feel like top esports really lost that series, in my opinion. So I know that Rogue Warriors hasn't been playing well. I know they just play against, against BLG, and they lost 2-0. But I don't know. I think Rogue Warriors makes an interesting GPP play today. I know that Xiao Hao. I know that I like Ice Coke better for that team, and we talked about it before, but. Yep. With Betty and Chocho starting again, I like Rogue Warriors' chance. I mean, obviously, I think Suning will most likely win 2-0 or 2-1 at most, but I think Rogue Warriors makes a good GPP play, in my opinion. I think Rogue Warriors actually makes a better GPP play than, let's say, Thunder Talk would have been today from today's slate. So. Okay. That's, for what it's worth, I think it makes a good GPP play. I like to take my chances here and there, for GPP purposes on a 2-game slate like this. So I might have a lineup with Rogue Warriors in it. Like, for example, this morning I didn't have any Thunder Talk. So.
Right. Yeah, I think I can understand where you're coming from. A 2-game slate. I think Rogue Warriors are probably going to be the lowest owned team because they're in the perceived most difficult matchup. And even though Suning have been shaky, I just think that they're way better than this Rogue Warriors team still. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely can get behind having a lineup with Rogue Warriors, and we've seen a lot of upsets, so who's to say one can't happen again, right?
Yeah, and according to our Suning rule, they're the gatekeeper team, and Rogue Warriors is at the bottom. So, yep. Suning should win. So,
yeah, for sure. Chan, is there one of these two matchups that you prefer to take your long stack from tomorrow? What does the combined kills per minute metric tell you?
Yeah, the OMG game.
Okay.
OMG, just like LGD we talked about the other day. OMG produces a lot of kills and also a lot of deaths, so it just gets a lot more bloody in OMG games. So yeah, that Ultra Prime versus OMG has the combined kills per minute of 1.73 together, both teams combined. And then Rogue Warriors in comparison, Rogue Warriors and Suning game has 1.61. So it's quite a difference in my opinion. Just the fact that Suning plays the slowest amongst the 4 teams on the slate. So, the fact that they're the biggest favorite, the fact that, maybe they don't need to do as much, against Rogue Warriors, that's, going to be depleted in terms of talent and gameplay today against Suning. I like OMG's spot here as the long stack, to target, and then Ultra Prime as well, if you think Ultra Prime will win.
Yeah, fair enough. Man, kind of short and sweet today, but another 2-game slate, unfortunately, guys. It is what it is. Chan, is there anything else you wanted to bring up though before we go?
Yeah, I mean, for OMG, I would say, since we only have two games to talk about, we can talk about, some players to target. I guess I'll start with OMG. I like Abel. I like Cream, as you know. So obviously those 2 carries, but I also like Cold. Cold has been, a very good support for OMG, right next to Abel. And I know they like to roam. He likes to roam with Aki as well throughout the game. So he has a very high kill participation percentage, Cold, their support. So I definitely think either Cream or Abel and then Cold would be, my core plays for OMG.
Yeah, fair enough. I can get behind that. I think Cream, especially, and Abel, they really have, when they're good, they're really good. So yeah, they're both guys I'd love to target. And then of course, it's nice to see supports with high kill participation. Sometimes it feels like, in some of these matchups, some of the supports just aren't quite getting there. So yeah, I can get behind that stuff for sure. Go ahead, Chan. Sorry.
Yeah, and then for Suning, it's pretty simple. One thing. And then Ben likes to carry that team, and he's going up against ZDZ and Rogue Warriors. So we'll see how that pans out. But Ben likes to shit on rookies and the unknowns. So
yep.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, for sure. Those guys are definitely the 2 carries of that team as well. So I think you got to look. So if you're looking at Rogue Warriors, Chan, because you said you like them a little bit. Yeah. Where would you go there? Would basically, you could basically take whoever you want. So is it as simple as going down to Betty and Chocho and then going from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Betty and then Chocho has a very high percentage kill participation rate as well, 75.4%. And then Xiao Hao actually, just like Ice Coke, their jungler has been playing lights out. Xiao Hao has the highest kill participation rate amongst everybody, 78.4%. So I would definitely focus Xiao Hao and then Chocho. And then, because it's comparing Betty versus Forge, Betty has the higher kill participation percentage, but lower kill share percentage. So depending on how you think the game will go, but just based on the matchup, if they are to upset Suning, I think it's going to have to start in the bottom lane, just neutralizing Huan Feng, because I feel like Suning, they win when Huan Feng plays well and scores well. So I feel like Betty will have to do a lot of work there. So I like to play Betty over Forge if you have to choose amongst the carries.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, that all sounds good, Chan. This time I'm serious. We'll be back tomorrow with a 4-game slate, so we'll have a little more to discuss for tomorrow's slate. But in the meantime, if you guys have enjoyed the video, please feel free to give us a like and subscribe to the channel down below. If you want to check out RotoWire, you can go to rotowire.com/try for a free 10-day trial with no credit card required. And then you can go to rotowire.com/chat, and that'll get you into instructions on how to get into the subscriber-only Discord channel. So check that out for sure. Chan, thank you as always, man. I'll catch you tomorrow for a 4-game slate.
Thanks, Ethan.